Hey Canucks fans, let's catch up on some NHL news, shall we? I'm Clay Emo. I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clay Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and this is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Thursday, May the 7th. I'm providing you with Canucks insight that's both positive and timely. A couple of housekeeping things first. Thanks to those of you who watched my Scott Rintoul chat this morning. I continued my Zoom interview series, and Scott is such a great guy, so thoughtful and so insightful. So I hope you get a chance to check it out. We had a lot of fun, funny moments for sure. A lot of also some thought-provoking discussion, I think. So make sure you check it out. And like all the interviews I've done, I think it's really worth your time. So let me know what you think about that. Also, thanks to those of you who joined me on my live stream last night. It's a wonderful chance to check in with each other once again. And as always, it went by very quickly. So I'm in a familiar confines. I'm on my way to work. I'm actually wearing a shirt and tie today. I had to go into the office and I have to be there in a few minutes, but I wanted to stop and record a quick vlog to talk about some of the things that are going around the NHL. Now, anytime I do a Zoom chat, which I love doing, and I'll probably, instead of doing 2 a week, I'll probably scale back to 1 a week now, because when I do those, I sometimes, and not that I'm not allowed to do another video, but sometimes I say, no, that's good for the day, and I don't often upload another video with other types of Canucks content. But I don't want that to be the case, so, and I wanted to check in, because there's a lot going on right now in the NHL and with the Canucks. So, some quick hits really quickly. I guess that's what a quick hit is, right? It's supposed to be quickly. And I've talked a lot over the past few days actually, about what the draft order might look like, what the standings may look like if the NHL resumes play, or even if they don't, if they go to a June draft. And we're still waiting for news on that. But there are three things I want to touch on really quickly, and that's Leipsic, that's Brackett, and that is a hub city, or hub cities for the NHL. So let's talk about Brendan Leipsic first. You guys know the story. A bunch of messages from an Instagram group chat got leaked yesterday somehow. You never know how these get leaked or whatever. But it showed Brendan Leipsic to be very immature, very insecure, and very insensitive, and just really bad, actually. It's I don't know how you can defend anything he said. Some might say, oh, well, I used to be like that, or we've all said stuff we regret. Yeah, we've all said stuff we regret, but we're also not all professional athletes who should know better about saying stuff in a group context where you never know what could get out there, and that's not excusing it at all. In fact, I'm going the other way. To me, it's very black and white. There's no gray here. And if I was to hear anyone say what he said about my wife or about my daughter, and I made this point on Twitter earlier today, I'd be livid. I'd be absolutely livid. So if you're not sure the story or you haven't heard, you can look it up on Twitter, on the net. The screenshots are all over the place, but very misogynistic comments, very sexist comments, very some racist comments, some insensitivities. I can't even say the word, but it was just really bad. It was kind of, yeah, I don't want to say typical. It's not typical of a hockey player, because this is more of an exception as opposed to the rule. But it was just horrible. Just think of a bunch of guys young guys, single guys who objectify women, who who think that they're hot crap or whatever. that's the worst. That's the first thing I can come up with. But really, it's so immature, and it's so irrational and so insensitive. So if you want, you can go check out the tweets or the messages if you haven't seen them already. But what really fascinates me is what's going to happen to Brendan Leipsic's hockey career. And I've kind of been talking to people on Twitter about it and listening to some commentary. Some people think that he's done in the NHL, because who would want to touch this guy, so to speak? What GM would want to bring him in and then create that toxic environment, right? And there's others, and I was thinking about this a lot. Sports and NHL, but sports in general, society is often very forgiving. And there might be a GM who says, no, I can bring this guy in on a $700,000, $800,000 contract for a year, and he could be an energy guy for my fourth line. And that's basically what Brendan Leipsic is, right? He can be an energy player for a fourth line. So maybe he fills a hole in a roster, and he goes through sensitivity training, and he did an apology, which didn't really do much for me. It didn't do much for a lot of people, actually. But, so I could see it going either way, 50-50, whether he's back in the NHL. He'll certainly play hockey again. Maybe he'll be overseas in the KHL or in Europe or something like that. So I don't think his hockey career is over, but I do think the NHL would be, it's kind of a 50-50 proposition. And if he does play in the NHL, he's going to have a lot of guys, ex-teammates, Virtanen, Pearson, he insulted Virtanen's friends. He insulted the looks of Pearson's wife. See, that's how, for me to say it like that, it sounds so stupid. He insulted Pearson's wife and her looks. It's ridiculous. And so you have teammates. He called his line mates bad. He's called out other players. He made fun of Connor McDavid's girlfriend. So there's like that's how, imagine the first time he gets in the ice. And I talked about this in my live stream yesterday. I don't think anyone's going to go try and beat him senseless or take a stupid penalty that puts your team shorthanded. But I think someone's going to rub him out the boards pretty hard or finish a check pretty hard. And I think Leipsic should expect that if he does ever play in the NHL. So I guess that's my first question of the day to you is, do you think Brendan Leipsic will play in the NHL once again? And take it for what he is. He's played for 6 teams in 5 years, including the Vancouver Canucks. Fast skater, but not the best hockey IQ, let's put it that way, and obviously not the best IQ in general. So that's Brendan Leipsic. Let me know what you think about him in the comments below. Number 2, a lot of discussion about Judd Brackett. He is the head of our amateur scouting department, and we know the story. We know that there's a lot of people that love Judd Brackett, especially when you look at drafting guys like Pettersson, Hughes, Podkolzin, Höglander. There's a lot of guys that don't like John Weisbrod. You look at the way that he seems to have gained a lot of power in the Vancouver Canucks organization, and a lot of people point to his the way he hasn't done well in other situations, including with the Calgary Flames. We know that Benning and Weisbrod are close. We know that Benning trusts Weisbrod, and it sounds like from all the accounts we've been reading that for Judd Brackett, it's not a money thing, it's not a title thing. It's more of a power, I don't know if you can say power or responsibility thing. Does Judd Brackett have complete autonomy over his department of the amateur scouting? Does he have Jim Benning's trust? Do they trust one another? Because if you don't, that makes for a very tough working situation. Yeah, you can mitigate things and you can kind of work around each other, but at the end of the day, you have to trust the people that you have. So I like Judd Brackett. I find him very articulate, very knowledgeable, and there's no doubt that he is the driving force behind a lot of these picks and a lot of these great picks that we've made. But at the same time, if I'm in Jim Benning's shoes, you obviously you don't just need yes men, and I hope that's not what Benning wants. You don't want just yes men who don't offer a dissenting or differing opinion, but you do need people who you can trust and that you think you can go to war with, so to speak, or that you think you can work with. So I don't know what the dynamics are. I don't pretend to know what the dynamics are, but everyone that's reporting on it, Sat Shaw, J.D. Burke, Ian McIntyre, they're all Elliot Friedman today, they're all saying that the disconnect is growing wider and wider, and it doesn't sound like there's anyone in the media industry that thinks that this is salvageable, which would be a shame considering how long Judd Brackett's been here with the Vancouver Canucks and the good work he's done. So that's, I guess, number 2 is, where do you fall on that? Do you think we're hooped if Judd Brackett leaves, or do you think we're putting too much into his work because it takes a team of scouts, it takes a team of management, or are you somewhere in the middle where you're kind of nervous, but you can see where Jim Benning's coming from, even if you don't agree with it. But it sounds like there's going to be a divorce down the road. I hope that doesn't happen because I'm very averse to conflict, but this is a story worth watching for sure. So that's my second question of the day: is where do you stand on the Judd Brackett thing? Lastly, we heard from Premier John Horgan, Dr. Bonnie Henry, Elliot Friedman, others that Vancouver has indeed submitted a proposal to be one of these hub cities, one of these host cities, if that's indeed the way the NHL goes when and if the season resumes. Now, when you think of the Pacific Division, you take away the 3 California teams because California is not the best when it comes to COVID. Vegas is always an option because of how concentrated and the facilities they have there. I haven't heard a lot about Arizona, and then I've heard a lot about Edmonton and less about Calgary. So really, if they do it by division, I think you're looking at Vancouver, Vegas, or Edmonton for the Pacific Division. And Vancouver, obviously, we would love it to have it here because we live here and we love hockey. And we know we have the facilities. We have a lot of downtown hotels, especially a lot close to Rogers Arena. And for hockey facilities, for teams to practice, you have Rogers Arena, you have Pacific Coliseum, you have UBC, you have the Langley Event Center, and you have many community rinks scattered throughout the Lower Mainland. So there's a lot of ice in Vancouver, great infrastructure, easy to get to, big airport, all those things. So it's interesting to see. You know, I would love to see it here, but not that we'd be able to go to games, but just to have Vancouver as one of the 4 hub cities. I've always heard Edmonton as a front runner for the Pacific Division if they go by division. So we'll see what happens. But the fact that you know, provincial leadership had the foresight to propose and to put Vancouver's name forward, I think that's a pretty cool thing. So that's the third question of the day is, would you like to see Vancouver as a hub city? So there we go, Canucks fans. 3 things to talk about today. Brendan Leipsic, where do you come out on that? Judd Brackett, what are your feelings on that? And Vancouver as a hub city for the NHL, what are your feelings on that? You can answer all 3, answer whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. I'll read, react, and reply as always. Put something down in the comment section below. Subscribe if you like to. Like this video if you like to. Enjoy the day. Be safe, be healthy, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.